Welcome to the NFC South Roundtable, a weekly live show featuring top-tier insight and analysis on all things NFC South. From the best creators in the division, including Atlanta Falcons creator Berto, Carolina Panthers creator Clay, New Orleans Saints creator TJ, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers creator James. Catch the NFC South Roundtable every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the NFC South Roundtable YouTube channel. NFC South, the Roundtable, welcome back into another episode. Here we are recapping everything that happened in Week 7, and of course, in the second half of the episode, previewing what these guys are expecting for Week 8. Another great week here in the division, but a lot to break down. James, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, maybe a little bit down right now. Obviously, Mike Evans going down. We, of course, have to hit on that. Clay, your Panthers are rising right now. Beginning of the season, you are down, and now this is what? Is this 3-4 games in a row that you guys are on a win streak right now? That is what I'm talking about. And, of course, you have risen to now number 2 in the NFC South. Guys, a little interesting little tidbit about the show. We're behind the scenes, and I'm getting everything ready to start the show up, and Clay goes, hey, whoa. Kobe, I'm at number 3. That's not correct. You put me at number 2. You give me the respect that I deserve. Panthers fans, he gave it to me. He gave it to me behind the scenes. All right, so don't worry. We're making sure that you guys are at number 2, giving you the respect that you guys deserve. But let's go ahead and let's just get in today's episode. Let's see how these guys are feeling headed into Week 8. James, it's a loaded question, but how you feeling?
Look, the loss is what it is, right? There was just a lot of stuff to dive into, and we will dive into it in today's show. Obviously, another big concern, though, is the injury stuff, right? And again, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But, as our dear friend Berto says, I'm not tripping because the Bucs are 5-2. The only 2 teams they've lost so far to this point are 2 other fellow powerhouses in the NFC. So I think that they're still in a good place going forward. So 5-2 is still a very, very respectable record, but obviously the loss stings with some of the other news in there as well.
And of course, just real quick, talking about what happened here with Mike Evans, this would have been the 12th straight season that he was looking for 1,000 straight yards in the season. So obviously, with the news coming out that he's likely going to be done for the season, broken collarbone, obviously talks about him having a concussion, looked a lot worse than I think it ultimately ended up being. It's not even a conversation. Is he in jeopardy of missing this? It's officially come to a close. And so what are your expectations with Mike Evans moving forward, just as a player being a part of the Buccaneers? And just what are your thoughts about that, a consistent streak of 1,000+ yards officially coming to an end?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, in the case of the recovery timeline, so it's not 100% set in stone that he's going to miss the entire regular season just yet. It's kind of possible he could come back week 16, week 17, and then if the Bucs are in a position to go into the playoffs, be there for that as well. So that is still a positive thing because I think one thing that we've talked about a ton is how valuable Mike Evans is to this Buccaneers offense. I mean, just tremendously valuable, right? I still think it's not talked about enough. But with him being out, that's obviously incredibly unfortunate for this offense going forward. We'll talk about some guys that may step up here in a little bit. But, look, I've seen a lot of people mention time for him to retire, time for him to, time for the Bucs to go their separate ways. And I don't agree with either of those. Really. Look, he's getting a little bit older up there. He's going to be 31, 32 years old, but this is still a guy that can go out there and produce, right? And this is the first big injury of his career. And look, just because he's not getting the 1,000-yard streak, one, that was going to happen eventually, right? Yeah. It is what it is. But secondly, look, Mike Evans is still a very, very valuable player. I don't think he's going to want to retire on an injury-plagued season. And I think that if he is wanting to come back, the Bucs would very much want him back. And I think that would be the right decision to make. So I still think Mike Evans is going to give it a go next year. Try and play that full season. And then you maybe see where things are going from there. But no, in no way, shape, or form do I think this is Mike Evans last year.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the Buccaneers don't want him, I'm sure there's half the league that would be willing to take him off your hands. And so I completely agree with you. Clay, let's go on over to you, man. Smile on your face when you came into the show. Smile on your face now. You got to feel good about where you guys are right now, just based off of where the trajectory was early on in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy right now. I mean, we've got a huge test coming up against the Buffalo Bills. For me, this team is continuing. We're not dominating. I mean, we're winning that's all that matters at this point. I mean, you want to hear a fun fact? I'll give you one real quick. The Carolina Panthers haven't been above 500 since 2019. So that's really sad, first off. Second of all, you know who the top of the Billboard charts was at that time? Lizzo. So just putting that in perspective. Okay. Just putting that in perspective. All right. So.
That was crazy. Oh, man. Some great music back in the day, though. Got to give it to her. Let's go down to you, Bro Talk. Obviously, filling in for our guy, Berto. Berto, unfortunately, is missing this episode. It's not because there was anything going on in his personal life. It was just because they lost and he was there to come in and talk. Quite literally the only reason. Now, obviously, look, Berto did have stuff going on in his personal life. We'll see him back next week. So all the love and shout out to our guy, Berto. But Bro Talk holding down the fort for us. How you feeling today?
I mean, I wish I could say I'd be feeling better. A lot of doubt going forward, Falcons, I've seen the show plenty of times when Berto's here, and it seems you guys like to pick on the inconsistency for the Falcons, and it reared its ugly face on Sunday. There was an opportunity there to be taken seriously as a threat in the NFC, and it was squandered by the team, and it's frustrating to say the least.
It really does feel like with the Falcons, it's just any given week. 1 week you're getting a dominant win against the Buffalo Bills, and then the next you're dropping to a team. And it's going to be really interesting to see what that consistency is like now that football matters. I say this all the time on the show, but football really matters come November, come December, and we're getting to that point where we're going to see what teams really are. When it's September, it's the beginning of October. These are still teams figuring out who they're going to be, trying to figure out their identity, still developing. But when you get to November, you get to December, that's just what your team is going to be for the remainder of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Falcons are come that time.
Yeah, and, on paper, beginning of the year, this stretch that we're coming into, Dolphins, Patriots, Colts, before the season started, you'd be like, okay, those are games the Falcons should win. And after last Sunday, you're like, I don't know. Even the Dolphins sitting at 1-6, I don't know. I don't know what team's going to show up on Sunday. If it's the team that played Buffalo, yeah, we should come away with a victory. But if it's the team that showed up against San Francisco, well, it's not looking good.
Of course, any given week. And of course, we're also going to be breaking all these games down in today's episode. TJ, let's go on over to you, the master of AI himself and backgrounds. I mean, man, every single week, I look forward to just seeing what TJ's got cooked up. I don't even want to hear about the games. I just want to see what awesome photos has this guy cooked up, and you never disappoint.
Yeah, man, I mean, it pretty much speaks for itself here. I mean, I'm running kind of similar to Spencer Rattler all afternoon as the Chicago defense just completely just ran all over them, man. I mean, look, another week, another loss. We just looking forward to 2026, but we here, we're going to have some fun and break down some football. How y'all boys doing today?
Pretty good.
Hey, look, TJ, it's football, baby. It's football. We got football. That's all that matters, right? Win or lose, we're at least watching some games, so some of these guys might be better than you, but you know what? While your team is losing, you are learning something very valuable, TJ, and that is learning the valuable asset of AI, right? And we're seeing that every single week. And so although you might be down right now, just imagine how up you're going to be when the Saints start winning games and you can start using that AI to your advantage. So TJ, man, an inspiration to us all. But fellas, let's go ahead and let's get into these games. But before we do that, real quick, want to give a massive shout out to one of the sponsors of today's video over at Sleeper. Use the promo code you see on the screen, RTS, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Link in the description box below. Want to build a quick parlay here with you guys via the Sleeper app that you guys can get in on with us here. And you know what, Clay? Your team's cooking. The Panthers are cooking right now. This is a massive, massive game for you guys to where it's going to be a prove-it type of game. You guys have been winning games as of late, but can you win against a good team like the Buffalo Bills? That's what is to be determined. So, Rico Dowdle, what do you think? This guy's been killing over the last few weeks since getting here. Do you have him anytime touchdown?
I think this would be a good game because I was looking at the Buffalo Bills ranked defense. They're third in allowing third in most rushing yards to running backs and second most to rushing touchdowns to running backs. So I'm going to say yes. I think that's going to be the game plan, especially because Bryce Young is not going to be playing in this game. And if people don't realize that how much Bryce Young matters to this offense more than people really realize, I can't lead you to the water, my friend. Like, I can lead a horse to the water, but I can't force him to drink it. So after what I saw against the Jets. Andy Dalton ate it, man. I can tell you that. So we're going to have to run the damn ball in this game. And I think the thing is going forward is because we saw this like split carries thing. It didn't really work. Rico didn't get as much touches snap count wise. And Rico still outworked Chuba Hubbard. So right now, Rico's the hot hand, and I would definitely say, yeah, give me that anytime touchdown with Rico.
Definitely agree. What do you think about Ted McMillan anytime touchdown?
Ted got locked up by Sauce. I ain't gonna lie. That was a good test for him against Sauce, but really, I mean, who does Buffalo have that can cover this kid right now? We've looked at their corners. I'm not really too worried about their corners over there at Buffalo. They're the linebackers is who I'm more worried about, and that defensive line is who I'm more worried about at Buffalo. But anytime touchdown, Tet, yeah, we'll say it. Yeah, he'll get his leg back this week.
All right, and let's do one more. What do you think about Josh Allen, 223.5 passing yards? Taking the over-under on that because your Panthers squad has a top 10 secondary.
Yeah. I mean, our secondary is good right now. I'll give, well, because Dak Prescott put like 263 on us. I'll say the over. I'll say the over with Josh Allen. It's hard for me to bet against that man because, again, it depends what with Josh Allen we're getting though. I mean, it does. It really depends. And it really depends on how Carolina contains him. If they can contain him in the pocket and don't let him get outside, once you let Josh Allen get outside, that's when you lose football games.
Absolutely. Well, let us know your guys' thoughts about this parlay in the comment section below. And of course, head on over to Sleeper and follow our parlay over there. Fellas, let's go ahead and let's get straight into these games. And of course, we do need to talk about that Tampa Bay and Detroit game. James, I know you didn't want to. Before we started the show, I was like, you guys ready to start? And you're like, I don't think we need to start the show today. You know, we can just start the show next week. But you guys end up losing in a pretty rough fashion here, 9-24. Obviously, Mike Evans does go down. That certainly does play a factor in the momentum. But what are your thoughts on this? How did you guys end up dropping a game to the Detroit Lions, who lost pretty confidently the week prior to the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, firstly, I want to say I think offensively it was a big issue. I don't think it's crazy to say this was Baker Mayfield's worst game of the season. You could make the argument it was his worst game ever as a Buck so far. Just really bad stuff. I mean, underthrowing guys, overthrowing guys, and he was pressured a good bit as well. I think they had pressure on like 30 snaps in that game, or just something like absolutely crazy and ridiculous. But really, aside from like the front seven of the Lions being stout, look, this was a Detroit Lions team that was down to like their 5th, 6th, 7th cornerbacks and their, 3rd, 4th, 5th safeties. So Baker should have played better in this game. I really do believe that. And look, the Mike Evans injury happened. That was unfortunate. He is going to be out for a good chunk of time now. You do still have Chris Godwin, who's on the mend with a fibula injury. You've got Jalen McMillan, who's on the IR with a sprained neck, although he should be coming back around the bye week or at least in December. So you've got to have some other wide receivers step up. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. And then also Hassan Reddick suffered an injury in this game too, in fact, a knee and an ankle injury. So he got an MRI today. We don't know the results of that MRI, but while the offense certainly did struggle in this game, I thought that the defense actually performed pretty well. You had Yaya Diaby get a sack fumble on Jared Goff. Jamel Dean got another interception in this game. So I feel like the defense did make enough big splash plays. The biggest critique I have for the defense was that they struggled to tackle in key moments with just some arm tackling and stuff like that. And it was rough. And I know some people may point to like the referees and the stuff like that. There was the situation that happened in the game where Cade Otton extended for the first down. They originally called it as a first down on the field. The Lions challenged it. And the thing that they were challenging was, I had to have multiple people explain this to me because I didn't know what the heck was going on. Because when I live stream, I can't hear the game. So Cade Otton extended for the first down. And they originally said that he got it. Okay. But he had fumbled at the end of the play. Okay. Then Dan Campbell and the Lions challenged it and said, is that an incomplete pass? Did he complete the process? Right. They lose that challenge. Okay. But along with that challenge of did Cade Otton catch the football, they decided to do a booth review to say, well, did he get the first down? Which was not what the Lions were challenging. Okay. So they did the booth review and said, hey, the Lions lose this challenge. He did catch it, but we also did a booth review. So double review here. And he didn't get the first down. So it's Lions ball, turnover on downs. So that was really weird. I've had a lot of people say to me like that they've never seen that before in a football game. I'd be curious to get your guys' thoughts and opinions on that. And there was just some other stuff too. Jamel Dean had a weird wonky penalty and some stuff like that. But again, you know, I'm not one of those guys that like kind of goes out and says like, hey, the referees, you know, single-handedly lost the Bucs this game. It would have helped if the offense was not really bad in this matchup. So yeah, it was a weird game, man. It was a weird game, but the Buccaneers still sit at 5-2. I think they will bounce back, especially offensively. Defensively, I think they'll continue to do things, you know, hopefully build up more momentum going forward. Offensively, man, it was just one of those weird games where they just could not execute.
And what's that status on Chris Godwin also? I just feel like
it's weird, man.
He hasn't been.
Yeah, it's like, weird. We don't really get a ton of updates on it. Last thing Todd Bowles said was, I think it was last week, that he's considered week to week with a fibula injury. So we don't know. Same thing with Bucky Irving. Just not a ton of updates with that, you know. So we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Interesting. Well, shout out to James for these updates, man. I think we've all had a lot of questions about the injuries that are surfacing for a lot of these offensive weapons for Tampa Bay. And now we kind of have a better understanding as we approach the rest of 2025. But Clay, let's go on over to you. What were your thoughts about this Tampa Bay and Detroit game?
Yeah, I honestly thought this game was a lot closer than the score really showed. But I mean, when you watch this game, I mean, where's the run game in this? Like, I mean, I get that your offensive, like the Buccaneers offensive line was getting manhandled by that Detroit's D line. And I know that, and even with some few starters out on that Detroit D line. So, and they still just got bullied up front. Tristan Wirfs got beat a couple of times by Aiden Hutchinson. But the good that came out of this game is, you know, your pass rusher showed up in this game very well. I think Todd Bowles dialed up some nice pressures that worked on third down. The Lions were only 3 of 13 on third down in this game. So, I mean, and your secondary wasn't bad either. Jamel Dean grabbed a pick. Zion McCollum held Jamison Williams catchless, which is great for me because I was going up against a guy in fantasy, so it was worked out for me well. Antoine Winfield did his usual thing, but also, can we give another rookie wide receiver some credit where credit's due? Tez Johnson. That guy's coming out of Oregon. I thought he was actually better than a lot of people thought, but I think his draft stock plummeted because of his combine. But 4 catches, 58 yards, nasty touchdown after the half. I mean, Emeka Buka still is that guy, in my opinion. He's still doing his thing. But again, I just felt like Tampa ran away from something that's been benefiting them and Baker Mayfield, right? And that's the run game. I know that you're out with Bucky Irving, but why run away from the run game when it has helped your offense tremendously? And that's when Baker is at his best. And we saw a lot of missed throws in this game by Baker. Had a bad interception in this game. Also, nearly a lost fumble late. But 28 of 50 for 228 yards and a touchdown. It's just not good enough, right? And then unfortunate news, which prayers up to Mike Evans, man, broke his clavicle. That's terrible, man. That guy was going for his 12th 1,000-yard season, and I was hoping for him to get it because Mike Evans is one of my favorite receivers in the game. But yeah, unfortunately, you know, Tampa's still at the top of the NFC South. This is only 2 games, right? But I do think that this was a major wake-up call for this team. And I think that this offense needs to figure it out fast before, you know, down this stretch of their schedule, it doesn't get any easier.
Absolutely. Let's go on down to you, Bro Talk. Okay. We haven't heard your thoughts and opinions before about the Buccaneers or hearing your thoughts about this game yet. So what are your thoughts just overall about Tampa now heading into week 8? And what were your thoughts about this game?
Well, I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just got outcoached ultimately in this game because we talked about it. Their secondary in Detroit was just completely depleted, and they had even more injuries occurred in the game. And that was something Baker Mayfield should have taken advantage of. Josh Grizzard should have called a much better game. I think there was a lot of inconsistency. So to a couple of y'all's points, the run game wasn't marrying well with the passing game. Pressure was getting there. Baker Mayfield was pressured on 37% of his dropbacks and only blitzed about 25%. So it wasn't like the Lions were sending the house, sending an extra guy. It's just they were getting their butts whooped. And to another point with the injuries, you saw it rear its ugly head. They finally caught up to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against a good, well-coached team that Dan Campbell has there. But there were bright spots. The defense – going into the season, I didn't think the Buccaneers addressed enough on their defense, but they're playing really well. Their pass rushers are coming along. I'm interested to see what the injury is for Hassan Reddick. And, I mean, to me, looking at their schedule, they've got the Aints next week in New Orleans. And to me, that smells like a trap game to me for them to go into the bye. And then they have a longer stretch. So if they can get healthy, they can continue to ride this wave. But, man, I have my doubts because – good teams pull away close wins, and a lot of these wins, just to me, right, just speaking non-biasly, right, is they shouldn't have ultimately won. The only ones that I think rightfully so they should have won, the Seahawks and the 49ers. But the other ones, they could have gone either way, right? One-score games. If it goes the other way, we're talking about a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team with a losing record. So.
Great insight. Yeah, I definitely think you offered some valuable information there about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, James, any thoughts on that? Do you feel like you guys also got outcoached?
In this game, I think offensively, I think it's certainly a possibility. With only having 3 receivers, and Bulls talked about this after the game, where they used a lot of tight ends and running backs to help with that pass rush because it was just not going well. So you only had 3 receivers going downfield. And look, those Lions corners played out of their freaking mind in that game. So that was a difficult thing to see, right? And I do agree that could have certainly done better. Now, I will push back on the notion of, hey, this could be a Bucs team with a losing record right now, right? Well, if this happened and that happened and this happened, well, good teams find ways to win football games. We say it a lot here. And we see that all the time where that's the argument for the Chiefs every year, and they still go out there and perform really well and do really good football. If the Falcons were in the same situation as the Bucs, would we be having the same conversation? I don't know, but it's just interesting. So that I will push back a little bit on that and say, like, yes, good teams do find ways to win football games, and that's what the Bucs have been doing this year, is finding ways to win football games. 5-2 still at the end of the day. But yes, I do agree. Offensively, certainly could have done a little bit better there.
Yeah, for sure. And let's go on over to you, TJ. Wrap us up with this game because, hey, look, it helps the rest of the division when the Buccaneers drop because now it gets a little bit more competitive. So, what are your thoughts? Do the Saints have a chance now?
No, they do not. They don't have a chance. And bro talk, I wouldn't talk too much, bro, because your team is completely inconsistent. So if we want to talk about if we would have did this or we would have did that, bro, then your team probably would have been,
Yeah. The notion is I know my team's bad, so I ain't gonna say nothing. Hey, man, you're gonna be bad for a long time. But go ahead, let's hear what you have to say.
You've been saying that for a while, and we still kick your ass. I mean, when on the show
here
with
we
you
go.
before, and when we kick your ass right after you were talking about how they was gonna do everything, man.
Then we beat when we did. Yeah, I think we beat y'all. I don't know.
That game, bro. Hey, bro, I'm talking now.
Oh, okay.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they just went up against a team at Ford Field. They win a lot of primetime games. I believe they won like 5 straight primetime games. They're just a good football team. And, Baker Mayfield had a rough night. I don't take anything away from, this. I don't feel like we learned anything about Tampa. I don't feel like we learned anything about Detroit. I think if we played this game again, and let's just say it's meaningful again in the divisional round, I think it'll be closer. I just think that Baker Mayfield had a rough night. He was overthrowing his receivers. The running game couldn't really get started. And, I just think that the Detroit Lions, they moved off of their crowd and just being in that element, man. And then you have Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, this guy was a one-man wrecking crew, all right? I mean, but at the end of the day, I don't take any stock away from it. I just think it's a tough loss. Pick yourself up and keep moving. I still think Baker Mayfield is still an MVP conversation. I still think that they have a lot of young, talented wide receivers, even though they're missing Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. These young players are stepping up. So, this is the reason why their front office did this, because they understood that Mike Evans has been dealing with hamstring injuries. They understood that Chris Godwin was dealing with injuries. So they end up, re-upping with some young, talented wide receivers. So I think it's a matter of Baker getting that chemistry with those guys, and I think they'll be able to, do some things. But I don't take anything away from them. I just think that Detroit is a really good team at home, and it was just a tough night in the office for the Bucs.
Yeah, certainly. We got to remember the opponent is going up against, let's not act like the Detroit Lions aren't one of the best teams in football, even though they did lose to the Kansas City Chiefs the week prior. I do want to get into this next game here for Clay to talk about his Panthers. But last thing I do want to ask you, James, involving your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is that the MVP race is starting to get closer and closer, and we're figuring out what candidates are true and what candidates are fake. Obviously, Baker Mayfield was number one in that discussion heading into this game, at least from what I was seeing. After his poor performance, he did drop a little bit. In your own perspective, where do you see Baker Mayfield in the running for MVP?
I think he did drop a space or two right after this game.
James, he's the MVP. If he is still the MVP of this league right now. It's not even like we got to stop this debate. Like, there's nobody up at the top right now doing what Baker Mayfield has done. The first 7 weeks of the season, there's nobody doing what he's done.
The reason I say
we're going to go based off of one bad game.
No, the reason I
drop this guy down.
Clay, if I could finish my thought on my quarterback, please.
I'm just saying.
If I just get a word in. No, the reason I say that is because when we think about the MVP award, for me, do I think Baker Mayfield should go down a spot or two? No. Do I think that objectively the national media and stuff like that will put him down a spot or two? Yes, I think they will, because they do have these affinities with your Mahomeses, your Josh Allens, and players of that nature, right? For me, one bad game shouldn't be enough to completely remove a guy from an MVP conversation. And I agree with what Clay is saying. Again, like, Mahomes is not doing the type of stuff that Mayfield does, where, again, he makes these types of plays. Josh Allen, similar but different, right? When I think of, okay, is he going down a spot or two? I don't think about it from my perspective. I think about it from what is the national media going to think? And I think that, I think I could see the national media dropping him down a spot or two. Is it justified? I don't think so. But do I think that is what is probably happening? Yeah, we're seeing it. I don't agree with it, but we're seeing it out there already. So, the best, all we need to go out there and see Baker do Baker Mayfield things, and he'll be right back up in that conversation. That's what I believe.
Certainly. Well, Clay, let's go ahead and let's transition on over to your game. You obviously win against the New York Jets. Can you just break down for us ultimately how you guys were able to come out with this win?
I mean, it was ugly. I'll tell you that. I mean, it wasn't perfect. That's for sure. But by any means, because trust me, it was getting very close there at the end. I was like, okay, what's happening here? But yeah, again, you get your third straight victory, first road win of the 2025 season, which is huge. Above 500 and since 2019, like I said earlier. But again, a win's a win. I don't care how we did it. We did it. And at this point, it's like, thank God, right? At this point, like I said, not being above 500 since 2019 and Lizzo's the top of the charts, man. It's like, good Lord. But I'm just going to talk about Derek, like some of these guys in this game. Derek Brown is a top 5 defensive tackle in this league. It's not even close. He might even be number 1. I mean, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 3 batted passes, 7 tackles in this game. Like, that's just historic numbers for a defensive tackle. J.C. Horn is a lockdown corner in the NFL. I mean, I understand the wide receiver core is depleted over there in New York Jets. But again, when your quarterback tests you once and then he tests you again and gets intercepted both times, one-handed beauty in the end zone. Like, again, the one interception that J.C. Horn had was like, okay, son, I'll run this route for you, and catches the interception. So again, I don't know why Tyrod Taylor wanted to continue to just test him, but it obviously wasn't smart. Nick Scorton, the rookie out of Texas A&M, we drafted second round, had 1.5 sacks, total pressures just by himself. He had 6. So, and he had 3 quarterback hits. So he's really stepping up big time It's Princely Mamielon also had a half a sack. The rookie at Ole Miss that we got in the third round. So rookies are stepping up. We really wanted to see that pass rush. I think this was a good game to get a get-right game for our pass rush, which they did. A total of 6 sacks on the day, which is huge. Rico Dowdle, again, he's still being the most efficient weapon on this offense. Pounding the rock, 79 rushes on 17 carries, averaging around 4.6 yards per carry right now. Xavier Leggett, huge play. I've been very critical about this kid. Had a great day. I felt like this was kind of like a breakout game for him almost. 9 catches for 11 targets, 92 yards and a touchdown. He was actually Bryce Young's safety blanket basically the whole game until obviously he went down with that high ankle sprain, which that is the unfortunate news because we are going to be out with Bryce Young heading into Buffalo this week. But again, Evero's defense, he's finally got this defense clicking the way I've been seeing it. I mean, we're a top 10 defense ranked right now across the NFL. So again, we're finally seeing this defense take the next step. We're showing a lot of grit, a lot of resilience. This team is just showing a lot of growth right now. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen out of this team, being 4-3 right now. Again, I'm riding on a cloud right now, but I'm going to be humble enough to say that we have a major test going up against the Buffalo Bills at home. Good thing is Carolina is 3-0 at home. So we will see going forward. Colby, you're muted.
Damn, bro, my damn keyboard, man. It's we're trying to get it fixed a little bit. It's going in and out sometimes. So let me know if there's any more technical difficulties. But what I was saying, your Carolina Panthers obviously got a big test coming up against the Buffalo Bills. But I'm someone who does believe that you don't pick your schedule, right? So when people say, "Oh, you're beating up on bad teams," yes, but that's also the first step on what good teams do. They beat up on the bad teams. They take care of business. It doesn't matter how you get a win. The point is that you're getting a win at the end of the day. And for a team like Carolina that was struggling early on in the season, they had their issues last year. You guys even beating up on bad teams should not be an indictment on you guys. It should be this team is trending towards something. And whether you beat up against the good teams or not, that's still to be determined. But you're at least taking care of business for step one. Bro Talk, let's go down to you. What are your thoughts on the state of the Carolina Panthers and getting this win over the Jets?
Well, like you said, it was an ugly win, one that they should have won and ultimately did. I still have my doubts, but, I like what Canales is doing with the offense and how he had Bryce Young flowing, giving him some quick throws, easy passes, making it easy for the young quarterback who's on the upward trajectory. Derek Brown, to his point, easily top 5 defensive tackle. There was never a doubt, and that has been a huge boost for them all season, coming back off of his injury. So I like what Derek Brown does, and when the day he was drafted by Carolina, I just shook my head. I'm like, dang, I wish he would have gone anywhere else. But it's a tough stretch, not having QB1 and Bryce Young. You got some tough games ahead of you. You said it. You don't make your schedule. You're right. You beat the teams you should have early on. Now it's like, okay, are you actually a good team going up against some powerhouses? Yes, the Bills don't look the same, but they're coming off of a bye, right? They're a vet team that's been good for a long time, a reigning MVP that's hungry to get out of that loss column. Then the Green Bay Packers, then New Orleans, then Atlanta, who's looking to, seek their revenge for their ugly loss in Carolina, then San Francisco and LA. Like, none of these games are going to be easy for them. So I think down the stretch, ultimately, we'll see who this team is. But right now, I think the Panthers are doing good things and taking advantage of, what other teams are throwing at them.
Certainly. TJ, let's go on over to you. What are your thoughts on this Panthers win and just the role that they've been on as of late?
Well, you got to be impressed at what you're seeing from the Carolina Panthers, regardless of who they're playing against. I mean, the Jets are indeed a train wreck. Shouts out to Richie. But I mean, it's just the reality. You look, they're learning how to win, and I think that what Dave Canales is doing by allowing Rico Dowdle in the running game to kind of be the catalyst for their team, I think is key. I always say the best friend of a young quarterback is a good running game, good defense. And right now they got a really good running game and they got themselves a solid defense. I mean, I still think they need a few more pieces, but they're still playing very inspired, and they got a young defense. So those guys are only going to get better as time progresses. You got to be impressed with Bryce Young. I mean, this is a guy who has been scrutinized and been asked. People been asking the question: is he a franchise guy? Can he win in Carolina? So it's good to see him find some levels of success. Like, you never want to see a number one overall guy who comes in with a high expectations and just doesn't live up to it, man. You don't want to have these type of conversations. But, Carolina, they're building confidence. And sometimes that's all you need in order for you to kind of go on a run. And, we're going to be talking about this next game, but I don't think it's out of realm of possibility of them losing this football game, especially the way that they've structured their offense over the last couple of weeks. So I'm impressed with Carolina. I'm interested to see how Andy Dalton is going to be able to handle this. But this is a guy who is a veteran. He kind of got thrust into the lineup. I mean, I'm pretty sure Bryce Young was taking a majority of the snaps. So, just him having a full week with the ones, I think that you'll probably see a better showing from Andy Dalton. But I'm impressed with the Carolina Panthers, and I'm glad that Dave Canales and Bryce Young seem to be on the same page, and I'm glad that they have a running game that can support these two, support the coach as well as the offense as a whole.
Colby, I just want to give some insight on Bryce Young's injury as well. It sounds like that they're going to do day-to-day, and when so tomorrow or Thursday, we should have a true update if he's going to play or not, because they said that they were going to evaluate him. It doesn't, because it's a very low high ankle sprain. So I don't know if I doubt he's going to play, but it's not like it's a normal high ankle sprain where it's like going to take 4 weeks for him to come back from. They said he'll be back as early as next week.
I wouldn't risk it, Clay, because here's the thing.
I wouldn't either. No.
Yeah, it's not a it's an AFC NFC matchup here. So we're not talking about seeding. We're not talking about the NFC South.
Right.
So this would be a game like to sit him out. Although like you want to win this game, especially like since the Falcons won. If it comes down to it with strength of schedule, you don't want that for the Falcons to have that advantage over you. But if you can win enough NFC games to be there in the end, but I wouldn't risk it, man.
No. Priority number one is getting him back healthy for sure.
No.
Yeah, definitely. You want to care about the end of the season, because that's when these games start to matter. And if you guys do end up making, I don't know, let's say you guys keep going on this run and you make a potential postseason run, right? You want to make sure your quarterback's good to get you there and potentially win you some games in the postseason if you guys are lucky enough for that to occur. But James, let's go on up to you. Wrap us up with this Panthers and Jets game with your thoughts.
A win's a win, baby. I mean, look, I've been saying it for the Bucs a lot this year, but look, they're still getting wins, and 3 wins in a row is darn impressive for the Carolina Panthers, right? So this is definitely something that they can hang their hat on and be proud of, and I don't agree with, ugly wins, is it really something to be happy with? Look, wins are wins, man. Wins are wins. At the end of the day, it shows 4-3 on that record sheet. So, they are finding ways to win football games right now. And what a turnaround we've seen for the past month from this football team. Now, I agree with what everybody was saying. Look, getting Bryce Young back healthy is the priority. And personally, I want them to use Rico Dowell more because I have him on my fantasy team. So, and he just looks like the better running back right now. And I feel like the Carolina Panthers might, they just gave Chuba Hubbard that gigantic contract, right? So I don't want there to be a scenario where it's like, well, we're paying this guy all the money, we have to go out there and play him a ton, right? It's like, well, if Rico Dowell is objectively playing better, you should go with that guy, in my opinion. Now, that isn't to say, take Chuba Hubbard out of the game entirely, because he does still have value to this offense, but Dowell is looking like a top running back in the league right now. So kudos to them. It helps out Bryce Young tremendously. And it seems like they're finally starting, hopefully for Panthers fans, starting to turn that corner into more positive consistency rather than inconsistency or just negative consistency. So, really good win for the Panthers here, beating up the Jets. Shout out Richie, those poor Jets.
He appreciates the shout outs, guys. I will say, actually texting Richie right now. He always appreciates the shout outs because, he's down bad. He still believes Aaron Glenn is going to turn things around.
He said, it's funny. Ricky posted on his Twitter saying Jets will get a win this Sunday, and then after we won, I commented on it and I said, Richie, you have some explaining to do.
That's pretty good.
Did you ever get a response? Did you ever get a response to that, Clay? No? Yep. That sounds about right.
Richie's so done, dude.
He'll save it for the post games. He told us, he's like, yeah, guys, I'm not going to be on the show this week. I'm on a business trip. I'm watching the Knicks. And I was like, yeah, go ahead, dude. Yeah, try another sport for right now, because right now the Jets just are not it, man. But let's go ahead and let's transition on into this next game in Bro Talk. You guys obviously do fall here to the San Francisco 49ers, 20-10. Look, the 49ers have been banged up this season. Brock Purdy hasn't been playing, but Mac Jones has been on an absolute killing spree along with Kendrick Bourne at the wide receiver position. So I think a lot of people have underestimated maybe what San Francisco can be, and maybe this wasn't as easy of a game that maybe some people projected that it could be, but you're coming off of a game heading into this one where you got a dominant win against Buffalo. So what happened that brought you guys back down to earth?
I think the matchup before the game even started was Robert Saleh versus Zach Robinson. You have an experienced coordinator that coached the hell out of that defense and had all these backups that they had on the field playing like their starters, like their Pro Bowl caliber players, and they were playing with energy. And the Falcons offense lacked energy, and Zach Robinson was outmatched as a play caller. And, you know, a lot of people, the media, and I'm on it somewhat as well with the whole pistol formation and not being able to run play action. I mean, it reared its ugly head. You looked at San Francisco's defense, they weren't threatened by anything in the air. They were keying in on Bijan Robinson, who only had 7 rushing attempts in the first half, which that's coaching malpractice, in my opinion. You have top 2 running back in the league, not number 2, and you're not feeding him the rock, whether it's in the air or on the ground. Yeah, I get it. You know, he was limited in some of his runs, but you have to wear down a defense and help your younger quarterback be able to feel comfortable in the pocket. He threw the ball, I think, 38 times. That's not what you want. That's not a recipe for success, especially when it's still a game within reach, a point or two. Now, defensively for the Falcons, going into the season, changing their philosophy and their front, the way they were going to be running the defensive front, we knew any type of gap style running team was going to be effective against them. And that's exactly what Kyle Shanahan did, running in between the tackles all game with the rejuvenated Christian McCaffrey. Like the guy tore us up. We could not stop him. And it didn't help that Divine Diablo, who's been playing at a Pro Bowl level, goes out with the forearm injury. You know, he's going to miss some time, hopefully not a whole lot, but that was a key piece on the defense missing. And of course, you know, you can't use injuries as an excuse, right? The 49ers were dealing with them. You got to plug and play. But you saw his absence, and Christian McCaffrey, man, he's playing like he was, you know, 2 years prior. He feels rejuvenated, and we had no answers. You know, coaching staff had some misses. The quarterback had some misses. Overall, this game, I think, was lost offensively because even though Christian McCaffrey went off, we held them to 20 points. You know, we got some sacks, we got some turnovers, we got some key stops and key moments. It's just it wasn't all marrying together, and then ultimately led to the loss, and it stung, right? You come off a high, and then you're right back down in the low, and you know when you're low, the other 3 teams in the NFC South like to kick you when you're down there. So they're doing a good job doing that on social media.
They certainly are, and I mean, hey, if there's one guy we know that does not love the Falcons,
oh yeah,
it's our boy TJ. TJ, let's go on over to you. What were your thoughts on this game?
Man, I actually picked the Falcons to win this game, so I was kind of upset that they lost, and I was shocked, honestly. I mean, man, I just want the real Atlanta Falcons to stand up. I mean, last week, I mean, they look unstoppable, like against Buffalo. That everybody was talking about how Buffalo was a Super Bowl contender. You can go back a couple of weeks before that. I mean, they made J.J. McCarthy look like a mortal after he came off that inspiring game against the Bears, and then they come to San Francisco and lay an egg like that. I mean, I don't know, but I believe that teams are going to figure out that if you can neutralize Bijan Robinson and probably hope that Michael Penix can go out there and beat you, then more than likely they'll take that. You know, Michael Penix is a talented quarterback. I think that he has the tools to be a really talented quarterback, despite what some Falcon fans may feel about him. He's young. He's inexperienced. He started a few games last year, but you got to allow this guy to figure this thing out. And Bijan Robinson is his utility blanket. Like, he's the guy that he relies on. The 49ers understood the assignment. They went up against a team that has athletic linebackers, despite who's in the game. And also, you have to understand, Zach Robinson came from the Sean McVay coaching tree. He was a coach with the Rams since 2019. He took the offensive philosophies and brought it to Atlanta. You don't think Robert Saleh has seen some of these schemes in his sleep? I mean, so he knows how to stop and neutralize, that type of offense. But look, the Falcons just have to be consistent. I'm not going to beat up on them or anything like that. They just have to be consistent, man. Like they have the talent. They got the talent. You can see it. Look how Kyle Pitts looked on Sunday night. Look how, like some of these other guys around them look. Like they have the talent. They just have to put it together. But these inconsistencies are going to cost them a playoff berth. And, it's unfortunate, because they have the tools. But defensively, I thought they did a good job. They were able to get pressure on Mac Jones. But it's just something about those running backs, man. Christian McCaffrey has heard people talking about Bijan Robinson and how Bijan Robinson is up next and how Bijan Robinson is the offensive player of the year. Like, these guys are extremely competitive. So don't trust and believe Christian McCaffrey was like, oh, he is? Let me show you what I can do. I may be 30 years old, but guess what I can do? So they're extremely competitive. But Bijan Robinson is the straw that stirs the drink. If you can neutralize him, then it's going to be a tough day at the office because Michael Penix, in my opinion, isn't ready to lead this football team and put it on his back just yet. But I want Falcon fans to be patient with this guy. You just need to be consistent, man. Kind of similar to how I want the chat to be consistent because I haven't seen too many Falcon fans in here like I seen last week.
Oh, man. Falcons fans were killing it last week, man. We were at like viewers, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, the Falcons winning is good for the show. So
we might get a bigger payday. We might have to start yelling them to win more.
We might have to start becoming Falcons fans. We might have to. Let's go up to you, James. What were your thoughts about the game?
Firstly, Clay, don't even get me started on that bigger payday, okay? Don't even get me started, okay? Listen. Look, for this game, look, the Falcons have all the talent, right? That defense is a legitimate top 8 to 5 defense in the league, right? They may be towards the best defense in the league. Okay. They play phenomenal football. This offense just cannot figure it out. I mean, they're the third lowest scoring offense in the league per game this year. They have the third lowest scored points per game as an offense. That is just not good, right? You're not going to win many football games like that. If the season ended today, there would be 6 teams above the Falcons that would get into the playoffs before them. One of them being the NFC, South rival Panthers. So they need to figure this out on offense, especially with how much of the expectations there were going into this season about them making the playoffs, winning the South, all these different types of things, right? And they have talent. Drake London, the offensive line is pretty solid. Bijan Robinson, of course, is one of the better running backs in the league. So they have talent there. But I agree with TJ where Michael Penix is just not doing enough. He's not playing terrible, but he's not playing to the max limits to where he can really be a full complementary piece to help this team win football games on a consistent level. Look, the Falcons should have won this game. This was a very banged up 49ers team, even more banged up whenever the Bucs than when the Bucs played him because Fred Warner wasn't in this game for San Francisco. They had George Kittle come back, but they neutralized George Kittle severely in this game. So this was 100% the game a Falcons should have won. And they didn't get the job done. So now they need to find some answers and try and bounce back.
Hey, Kobe, I got a quick question. And this question is for Bro Talk. Okay, so at the beginning of the season, during preseason, Michael Penix didn't play at all. Like he didn't get no snaps in preseason. Did you have a problem with that? And do you feel like that could be the reason why at this stage, after 7 weeks, he may not be at that level where I'm talking about where, like he can keep it consistent, but let's just say if they neutralize Bijan, like, can he, like, do you think that played a role, the fact that he can't elevate that game in the clutch just yet?
Well, I think it would have benefited him seeing those live reps. I know a lot of people were like, well, you got to protect the injury. I was okay then not playing him. I think, a series here and there in those 3 games, yeah, it could have helped him. But what I think is to your point is I don't think the offensive coordinator is doing him any favors, giving him some easy passes, right? They liked Michael Penix coming out of college because they like to compare him to Matt Stafford. Well, he's not Matt Stafford. He's nowhere near Matt Stafford yet. He's got to develop there. And I think they're trying to push him into that spot, which, he's not ready for. So why not give him more creativity in the offense where teams are keying in on Bijan? Well, let's open it up for someone else because you have Kyle Pitts, you have Drake London. Pick your poison that game. That's fine. We'll adjust and give some easy throws. It's like one of the things for Michael Penix coming into the pros was he lacks attacking the middle of the field. That's where he struggles. And so what is the offensive play call? Okay, we're going to go outside the numbers, which is fine. You play to his strengths, but now defenses know that. They can play the middle of the field open. They can play a 2-high, 4-high shell, right? So they're not worried about him. So as an offensive play caller and in practice, it's like, okay, Mike, we got to start working on these things. Let's start ripping it. So to your question, could it have helped? Yes, slightly. I wasn't upset about him not playing, but I don't think he would be at the level needed to carry the offense fully. He's not there. He's about another season or two from being that, and that's okay. A lot of people like to bring up his age. Oh, he's 25. He's the same age as Trevor Lawrence. I get that, but he hasn't gotten the repetitions at college or even the pros that someone like Trevor Lawrence has got. It's all about repetitions, right? We see it in Seattle with Sam Darnold. We see it in Tampa with Baker Mayfield. Like even Bryce Young getting repetitions. He's on the upward trajectory. That's what this kid needs. And 3 plays in a preseason game, they may go 3 and out. That's not going to do him any good. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. I just was wondering, man, because that was something that I brought up, and some people were like, that wasn't a big of a deal. But I just look at, man, those reps just matter. And, like I said, you see the talent is there. Like you seen it in a Commanders game, the last game of the season, like when they played against Carolina last year, like you see the flashes. So it's there, but it's just like, man, I feel like it needs to be a little bit more repetition. I feel like the team is justifiably so is extremely Bijan heavy, but teams are going to start zeroing in on Bijan, and what are you going to do then? You got to rely on your quarterback to make plays.
So one thing with Michael Penix that I think he needs to improve on in himself is his mechanics, his footwork, his ability to have a little bit more touch on his passes. He likes to laser in. He has the arm strength. We all see it, right? I want to say top 5 strongest arms because he can rip it in there, which is great in certain moments. But at the same time, with the repetitions, I think it'll come, but he really needs to key in on his mechanics. And someone like Josh Allen, and I'm not saying he's going to be like him, but someone like Josh Allen who struggled with accuracy and having that touch early on in his career, when he fixed those things, that's where you saw him really blossom into the quarterback that he is today.
Certainly. Well, let's go on over to you, Clay. Clay, wrap us up with this game. What are your thoughts about Atlanta coming back down to earth and taking an L?
Well, to the repetition thing, I think it's most important that these guys like Penix do get reps in preseason. Same thing with Bryce Young. Bryce Young stumbled out the gate the past 2 seasons because he didn't get any reps. He only played 1 game the preseason before, and then this past preseason, he got 2 more, 4 drives, but it's still not enough because, again, he started out slow. And I think that all these guys need reps. More reps, the better. It also builds chemistry with the other guys around him. But I am going to start with the obvious since we are on the Michael Penix thing. I think he's fine. He's not terrible, but he's not great, right? Like he's going to get you a touchdown, but then he's going to have mistakes that's going to kill you. And that's just where he's at right now, right? Like the fumble he had was brutal. The intentional grounding before halftime, that's even worse. So you kill yourself, and that ended up with a score. You kill yourself of not getting a scoring chance there. The run game, again, that is your backbone. It's the same thing what we're kind of doing here in Carolina. That is your backbone. Bijan Robinson only had 22 yards at halftime and finished with 40 total. That's because I have him on my fantasy team, so I know all about that. But at the end, he did still put like 20 points up, so I'm still cool with that. But and I still got the dub this week, so that's all that matters. But again, you got to get him the ball more, man. You got to figure out ways to get him more touches. If you're not finding it in the ground game, start quick passes, RPOs, screens over to him. Just whatever that gets him involved, do it because he's going to make a play. That is what Bijan Robinson is. He's a playmaker, and that's what you brought him here to be. You got to get him more involved some way, somehow. But Kyle Pitts, man, I'm just glad to see Kyle Pitts. Like, even though I'm not, I'm a hater of the Falcons, I'm just glad to see Kyle Pitts getting some touches, man. We've been waiting for this guy to really blossom since his rookie year, and he's starting to come back to that Florida Gator, Kyle Pitts, that I fell in love with because he was an absolute stud. But and he's starting to come back into that own. But I think the biggest thing that continues to kill these Falcons, and again, we harp on it and we harp on it and we harp on it, is the inconsistencies, the penalties. All right, you had 6 penalties in this game, 43 yards, right? All right, now there were some questionable no calls as well, but the worst that came in this game, and I still think that I guess the ref swallowed his whistle. I don't know, but Christian McCaffrey literally got pulled into the end zone by his own teammate, which was on the game-sealing touchdown. Mm-hmm. See, we have to be knowledgeable of that. But again, the Falcons do have the talent. I'm not going to harp on them too bad in this game. They have the talent. Again, I was the only one on the panel that picked against them in this game, by the way. Got to make that well known there real quick. But until they clean up the penalties, the play calling, and the execution, they're going to keep letting these winnable games slip away. And that's where we harp on the consistency.
Certainly. Well, let's go ahead and let's wrap up the final game here from week 7 so that we can start breaking down our thoughts here for week 8. TJ, we're going to kick this one to you. You guys obviously fall here in another match. You are playing against a team in the Bears that are one of the rising teams in the NFL as each week is progressing. So break this one down for us.
Well, I mean, the reality is the Chicago Bears were just a better team. And then you have a really good defensive coordinator who understands and knows everybody on the offense, and Dennis Allen over there. And, it was just a rough game for the New Orleans Saints. Spencer Rattler was his worst game as the starting quarterback this season. I mean, responsible for 4 turnovers, couldn't get the running game going. And it's the same old song and dance with the Saints. I mean, they do not have playmakers on this team. Like, yeah, you had a 57-yard reception by Chris Olave. He had multiple touchdowns. What if I told you this was the first time Chris Olave has had multiple touchdowns in his entire career? He's been in the league since 2022. So the Saints don't have that. I mean, you have Juwan Johnson out there dropping passes, and then when he makes a catch that my 6-year-old son can make, he wants to flex on the sidelines. Man, this team is an absolute joke in 2025. Like, y'all know me, man. I'm not one of them people that sugarcoat it. They're a joke. Like, the general manager of the New Orleans Saints has this team in shambles. But I'm glad to know that he understands that he has this team in shambles, and he understands it's going to be a down year. I've been saying this since the beginning. It's a rebuild. But the more I look around this team, the more I feel like they just lack talent at the most important positions. And then you also look at the fact that it seems like Alvin Kamara isn't the Alvin Kamara that we once knew. I mean, he's tiptoeing through the holes. I call him the tiptoe burglar right now because he's tiptoeing and stealing money at this point. Look, as much as I respect Alvin, he's an all-time great. We got to call a spade a spade. The Saints hold on to these players too long. This buddy type mentality that they have. This Christmas sweater type thing they got going. Oh, you bought me a Christmas sweater. I can't cut you. Like they are a soft organization when it comes to making critical decisions. When you look at some of the best teams in the National Football League who are constantly in playoff contention, who are constantly winning their division, they make tough decisions. They're not looking at a 36-year-old Cam Jordan and saying, oh, you've just been a bold soldier for us for so long. Let's just keep you here for life. It's a business, and the Saints do not run their organization like a business. So therefore, this is the reason why we're sitting up here with the Saints being 1-6. They're trying to gaslight fans, making them believe that they're going to win week to week. They're not gaslighting your boy because I can see, just like Ray Charles and Steve Wonder could see this, that the team is not very good. So it is what it is. Like, we're going to continue to have these same type of conversations, miss opportunities, undisciplined play, and not being able to have enough horses in a barn when a team gets a 2-touchdown or a 3-touchdown lead to win a football game. The only question that we got to ask ourselves now is, when are we going to see Tyler Shuck to see if you actually have a future at the quarterback position? Because if not, then you may need to go into the draft when you're going to have a top 3 or a top 5 pick and try to draft yourself a quarterback of the future. May not be popular decision among Saints fans. You might get fatigued from this, but y'all already know, man, you got to keep on trying until you find your guy. Bro talk. I mean, y'all had Desmond Ridder, Marvin Mariota before y'all found, before y'all found Penix. So, I mean, that's just the way that it goes, man. But terrible football, man. And, man, all the criticism is warranted. So you ain't about to hear nothing from me when they talk about defending this sorry, pathetic excuse of 2025 football of the New Orleans Saints.
And so, TJ, you've obviously been going off about your team, and rightfully so this season. And with the trade deadline quickly approaching, obviously there's a lot of questions about how some of these maybe teams at the bottom could ship off some of their star players. You guys are in a new regime. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is not a part of that picture, especially given some of the injuries that have now occurred in the running back room. Kamara obviously saying too, hey, even if they wanted to trade me, I'll go to Acapulco and I'll sip on some drinks there instead because I ain't getting traded. I'll retire.
I'll join him.
Chris Olave. Do you think Chris Olave will be traded?
No, I don't. I don't feel like he'll be traded because once again, like there's no accountability on this football team. Now think about this, folks. Think about this. Okay, bro talk. Y'all cut Yanwei Koo, right? That man made some clutch kicks after clutch kicks, still cut him, and now you got Parker Romo, right? The Saints kicker Blake Grupe has been shanking kicks since week 1. Like he has a 70% kicking percentage. You think they're going to go out here and try to find another kicker? I ain't heard a damn thing. Guys whiff on tackles. Go back out there, champ. Guy get beaten coverage. Go back out there, champ. Like Chris Olave dropping passes left and right. This probably was his best game he played in years. And still, like, this guy's not a number 1 receiver. So what are we doing? But at the end of the day, should he be traded? Absolutely. But will the Saints do it? No, because this organization is clueless. They're absolutely clueless and delusional. They rather care about optics and how things are perceived than actually making tough decisions. So hell's to the nah when it comes to trading anybody. This is going to be the same team. I would be shocked if the Saints traded anybody.
My bad, TJ. I didn't know it was that bad, man. Jeez. Well, let's go up to James. And James, give us your thoughts about the New Orleans Saints loss.
Real quick, TJ, that what you just said reminded me of the song by Bishop Bullwinkle, where it's hell nah to the nah, 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 hell to the nah. That's what it reminded me of.
That's awesome. Good pull, James. Good pull.
Thank you. And then also I think of another thing whenever I think about this is it is a song from Herman Hermit. I'm Henry VIII, I am. And it is second verse, same as the first, where I feel like we've been talking about this every single week now with the Saints, where it's just been like, hey, they're fighting, but they're just not good enough to win. And there isn't much I can add, man. I mean, it's the same thing where it's like, okay, what was it this week? The defense gave up a little bit too much. The offense didn't do enough. There was some mistakes here, mistakes there. And it is what it is, man. So, I mean, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Yeah, I mean, the Saints are still rebuilding. It is what it is. I mean, I agree with TJ where it's like they should move some pieces. And I've watched, for those of you who don't know, go check out the State of the New Orleans Saints podcast, okay? Because TJ has been on a multi-year crusade to bring down their general manager, president, owner, whatever he is. And it has been a beautiful thing for me to watch. I've been paying attention to it for like 2 years now, everyone. You need to go watch it because TJ is on a mission. And I think one day he will succeed, so...
There you go. You know what, James? Respect for the little shout out there to TJ. You know what? Your team might be down, but go give TJ some individual love for the crap he's going through every single week. Of course, all these guys' channels linked in the description box below. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. But Clay, let's go on over to you. What are your thoughts on the Saints?
I mean, I don't know how I'm going to top either one of those guys right now. The only thing I am going to harp on is holy hell, the coaching was bad in this game. Kellen Moore's play calling was so predictable and stale. I mean, running Kamara up the gut, back-to-back plays on fourth down, like third down, same thing. Fourth down, okay, we're going to do the same thing. Like, what are we doing? And then like Brandon Staley's defense, that just like if we're talking about Swiss cheese, that was it. No adjustments. There's no energy, no clue. Spencer Rattler, man, you're gonna you know what you're getting, man. You know what you're getting, and it's 3 interceptions, a fumble, 0 awareness. He looked completely rattled, pun intended there, by the way. So yes, he's young, but this was ugly. Again, this is a Saints team, and I feel where TJ's coming from because this is how he feels about Mickey Loomis is how I felt about Scott Fitterer. Okay, when we were trying to go through this rebuild. Okay, that guy set us back further than where we should be at right now. But again, this is the rolling with the punches this is where I start saying you got to roll with the punches because this is where you are, and this is what you're going to be, and you might as well get used to it for the rest of the season. It's not going to be forever, but for right now, this is what you're getting.
All right, bro, talk. Let's go down to you. Oh, James, you want to say something?
Real quick, Clay.
Of course you can.
For
You can
saying
say
the
anything
full
you
name.
want, James.
Oh, well, hold on.
Well, okay, well, yeah, in reason, but
thank you to Clay for saying the full name of the Saints GM. I wanted to say his last name was Loomis, but I was like, oh no, it's like near Halloween. Am I just thinking of the guy from the Halloween movie? I was like, I don't know, man. So thank you, Clay.
From Scream.
No, from the Halloween movie.
Oh,
you're thinking of Billy Loomis from the Scream.
I'm thinking
movie.
of Billy Loomis. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. What a pull. Let's go down to you, bro. Talk. Wrap us up with this game. What were your thoughts?
I mean, everyone said the obvious, right? I can't put the S on it just because there's this bitter rivalry. I call them the Aints, and that's what they are right now. They ain't doing anything. But to TJ's point, I think they really need to trot out Tyler Shuck out there and truly see, what do you have? Do you have a guy that you can lean on going in the future? Or are you just going to waste a second-round pick for him to sit behind Spencer Rattler where he could have gotten reps and gotten ready for next year or the year after? I think the Aints have some pieces there offensively. I think Kelvin Banks is going to be a solid anchor. I like what I see so far. Talise Fuaga, one of my favorite prospects coming in. I hated that he went to this team, but, I think they have 2 solid tackles. Kellen Moore, I think when he got hired, I thought he was in over his head, but he probably knew going into this he was going to be in a rebuild, and he's just got to make a lot of tough decisions. But if Mickey Loomis is still the GM, to TJ's point, we've seen this, he may not let him make those tough decisions. And hiring Brandon Staley, like, what are we doing? Like, this buddy thing. We saw what Brandon Staley was. He had Jalen Ramsey. He had Aaron Donald with the Rams. That's essentially what got him his name. And we saw what it did for the Chargers. It did nothing. So we'll see what kind of changes they make in the offseason, but I really think they should trot out Tyler Shuck out there and just see what you got. You got an older rookie quarterback like the Atlanta Falcons. It's time to, you used an early day 2 pick on him. Go put him out there. See what you got.
Absolutely. Well, guys, before we go ahead and we start breaking down these week 8 games real quick, want to give a shout out to everybody who's dropping the super chats right now. You guys are being very generous. Tom Brady comes in and says the Vikings offered 3 first-round picks and a 3rd for Drake MVP. It is true they did do that. The Giants also tried to acquire him, but I guess Patriots were smart enough. Good for the team.
When did that happen?
So leading up to the draft, the Patriots were getting trade calls to move up to their draft pick so that these teams could draft Drake May. And the Giants offered a first-round pick, and the Vikings offered 3, and the Patriots stayed pat.
I thought you meant like
choice.
I just thought you meant like recently. I was like,
that would be crazy. Dang. No, it starts at 5 first-round picks at that point. I'm still not doing it, but if you're trying to offer me anything less, that's wild.
Colby, I don't know, bro. You give me 5 first picks for Drake May.
You know what? Man, what, James? That's crazy. If you get 5 first, actually, I don't even know who on your roster. Like, if you got 5 first-round picks for Baker, I feel like you're probably giving that up, right?
Yeah. Just 5 first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, like, me personally, I wouldn't. I would keep Drake, but like, I guess that's fair. I see your perspective. Shout out to Zoe for a $2 donation. Says belt to ass this weekend. Go Bucks. You riding with that mindset too, James?
I mean, we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right. Yeah, that's the mindset. I love it. Shout out to Zoe comes back here with a $2 donation. Says, hit that like button and fuck the Falcons too, man. Shout out Zoe, man, coming in with the heat on half of James, man. Zoe always killing it in the chat.
This chat, wow, man. They be saying some out-of-pocket shit.
The chat's killing it, man. That's what we're all about here. at the NFC South Roundtable. But before we go ahead and we talk about these games real quick, want to let you guys know about our good friends over at RotoWire. You guys know about RotoWire. We talked about how to dominate your fantasy league in the beginning of the season, but now we're going to let you know how you guarantee you make some money this football season when you're betting with your parlays, your player props, because right now RotoWire will tell you guys that they like that you should take the over on and guys that they believe you should take the under on. So for example, they believe that Jordan Love 250.5 passing yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, you should take the under. Jackson Dart, 203.5 passing yards against Philadelphia. They think you should take the under. And Carson Wentz, 228.5 passing yards against the Chargers. They think you should take the under. All of this and so much more to make sure that you build your player props and your parlays perfectly to make sure that you do not lose money, but rather you gain money. Right now, you can use the promo code RTS to get 15% off. Link in description box below. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and let's transition into these Week 8 games. Tampa Bay is taking on the New Orleans Saints for an in-division game. James, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, division rivalries are always tough. Right. We saw it earlier this year with the Atlanta Falcons, and it's going to be like that just all the time. Right. Division rivals always play very tough against one another. I'm going to be curious to see in this game if Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving can come back and get healthy. I do think this is going to be a Buccaneers team that is going to be looking to get a win back after that loss to the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. But they're playing on a short week. And I think that the Saints, that's a big advantage for the Saints because, look, we don't know the status of Reddick right now. Obviously, Mike Evans is out as well. Who's going to be able to come back? Who's not coming back? It is a big deal. So this is, by no means going to be like an easy game for the Bucs. Now, I will say, and TJ, I know that you make the crusade against Loomis. Another guy you crusaded against was Dennis Allen, okay? But in my opinion, I'm very happy Dennis Allen is not with the New Orleans Saints anymore. Not just because you're happy, man, and I want to support my fellow friend and creator here, but also because Dennis Allen would beat the dog crap out of the Bucs in terms of scheming and stuff like that. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing with Brandon Staley, but you know what? I'd rather take the unknown than the disappointment of knowing that Dennis Allen was going to beat us up on offense again. So, I do still think it will be a close game. We're just going to have to wait and see who comes out on top, but I will give this game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Giving this game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, James, getting back on track, baby. I love it. All right, let's go down to TJ. TJ, you're the other half of this game, man. It's an in-division game, and a lot of times these things don't matter how good or bad you are. It just comes down to the in-division gods sometimes will gift you a game that sometimes you shouldn't win. Do you think there is any chance whatsoever you guys pull off the upset? Okay, that's a no. Got it.
You're muted.
DJ.
It's okay. I did the same thing.
The Saints aren't going to win this football game. I'm just going to make it short and sweet. They're not going to win this football game because Tampa is better. And to answer your question, James, they run a zone scheme. So Cade Iden and whoever the slide receiver is probably going to be eating the majority of the game. Do I think they're going to like show up and be competitive? Yeah, but Tampa is just more talented. No matter what they have going, no matter the injuries, no matter adversity, the Saints are just trying to figure out what they actually have as a team, and Tampa is trying to figure out what seed they're going to have, rather it's going to be 1 or 2. So I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning this game.
Point blank, period. Respect, TJ. Let's go on over to you, Clay. What do you think about this in-division game?
Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers are on a short week. Baker Mayfield continues to make it work with this revolving door cast of receivers. Mecca Buka, maybe Chris Godwin comes back and is healthy. Tez Johnson stepped up this last game. The Saints have scored 20 or more points twice this season. Both times were at home. This is a tricky one for me, and I know it's weird to say that, but Tampa Bay has won the last 3 meetings at Caesars Superdome. That includes 2 blowouts. I don't think this is going to be a blowout, but I'm going to take the Bucs in this.
All right, Clay is going to take the Bucs in this one, and Bro Talk, let's go down to you. You going to be the only one who takes the Saints here? You want to take the upset?
Oh, I am, and I think it's a trap game waiting to happen. I think that I think Tampa is going to be hungry to, get that victory coming off a tough loss in Detroit. But a second road game, a division opponent. You know, if there's one thing, you know, New Orleans does well is their fans show up, they're loud, they want to beat a division opponent. And I think that, you know, if the Buccaneers aren't as healthy as they can be, I think this is a sneaky one. And I think it comes down to like a field goal or something, and New Orleans comes away with that upset victory.
Wow. So you're taking the New Orleans Saints in this one.
You
I
know,
love it, bro. Talk.
I'm an
That's what we do
avid
here.
hater of the black and gold, but I have a hunch that this is a trap game for Tampa.
Bro Talk, that is what we're all about at the NFC South Roundtable. Okay, guys, look, we're going to have to come back here next week, and we're either going to be talking Bro Talk up, or we're going to be saying, all right, I don't know what that guy
This
was
guy
on
doesn't
in
know what
this
he's
game,
talking about.
I don't know what this guy was on in this game, but hopefully he's okay. Let us know your thoughts about this game in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and let's move on into the next game, because Clay, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Your Carolina Panthers coming off of several wins here. You guys are on what we'd like to now call a winning streak, baby. You guys feel back on track. Bryce Young, like you mentioned, may or may not ultimately end up playing in this one. Buffalo Bills coming off of that bye week. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think that this is it's not a get right game. It's a prove it game. It's a game that Carolina needs to prove that they can compete with the big dogs, right? And in this game, I think that you're going to have to control the line of scrimmage, right? You're going up against guys like Joey Bosa, Ed Oliver, right? And so, you know, our offensive line is going to have to neutralize that their front. Also, you know, we got to utilize this wide receiver core, because again, Tedero McMillan, Xavier Legette, Jimmy Horn Jr., these guys are making plays out there, and they're really starting to get involved heavily in this offense. Mitchell Evans, also the rookie out of Notre Dame, we drafted in the 5th round, tight end. Huge sleeper. And I think right now he has shown the more value at the tight end position for us. And I think potentially he'll end up getting more touches as we keep going. But the biggest thing offensively is that Carolina's got to establish this run game, right? Again, we got to establish a run, because you're going up against a team that is allowing over basically 125 yards a game rushing. So you got to obviously run the ball with Rico. You'll probably see Chuba Hubbard get some touches, but I think it's got to be like a 65-35 split between Rico and Chuba Hubbard at this point. But defensively, we've got to get pressure on Josh Allen. That's the biggest thing, getting pressure on him. Because the Bills thrive when Allen has time to make plays, right? And that's the biggest thing. Limit the big plays as well. I think that, you know, their wide receiver core, it's a little shaky. I mean, Shakir, Coleman, Palmer, you know, Shakir can make plays, but I think JC Horn can lock down any of those guys very easily. Again, I still think JC Horn's a top 5 corner in the league. But force Allen to beat you from the pocket. That's the best thing you can do for yourself defensively. I'm not taking Buffalo. I know that normally I have been realistic with my team, but we are 3-0 at home. I think Carolina gets this dub, and I think that we run the ball, we control the clock, and we contain Josh Allen in the pocket, because Carolina has been able to do that the 3 out of the 4 weeks, except against the Patriots. And so I'm gonna go with that.
Hey, man, let the Atlanta Falcons be a beautiful example on how if you just run the ball effectively and you string together long drives, long possessions, then you can beat the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills are coming off of 2 back-to-back losses heading into the bye week. What are they going to be like coming out? Nobody knows. So, Bro Talk, you obviously played the Buffalo Bills, you know, not too long ago. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think the reigning MVP coming off of 2 losses and having 2 weeks to prepare for the Carolina Panthers, I think that's a recipe for disaster. And yes, the Panthers got some good pressure last week, but this Buffalo Bills offensive line is still one of the best in the league. I'm just curious to see how Joe Brady is going to use James Cook, because part of the reason that we won against them was James Cook, I'm sorry, they weren't using James Cook. They weren't running the ball, which I found odd, because they had success. Now I know the Panthers defense has done well against the run, so I'm just curious to see how that works. Now offensively, with Andy Dalton now throwing the ball, how much will they lean into the run? Because a defensive coordinator preparing for a quarterback that maybe isn't as mobile as a Bryce Young. Well, now it's like, okay, let's key in on the run. You know, you have Shaq Thompson, right? Former Carolina Panther great. That's probably going to be starting against his former team that let him go. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I think the Panthers will keep it close for most of the game, but ultimately I see Josh Allen just taking over this game like he's done many times throughout his career, and the Bills come away with the victory.
All right, we got Clay taking the Panthers. We got Bro Talk taking the Buffalo Bills. TJ, who are you going to take?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Buffalo Bills in this game. I do agree with what Bro Talk just said. I think what Atlanta did was they were able to get pressure on Josh Allen, and they had some very athletic pass rushes on their team to be able to keep him in a pocket and neutralize him. You know, I'm looking around the Carolina Panthers team, and I think they only have like 11 sacks as a team right now. The Falcons are like one of the top teams with getting pressure and getting sacks. So that's an advantage for Josh Allen. I do like the matchups versus like the cornerbacks and the wide receivers. I think that goes to the Carolina Panthers. I think that you got Keon Coleman out there. That'll be a great matchup for J.C. Horn. He's a big type wide receiver, kind of a possession guy. So that's going to be a tough matchup for Coleman. Shakur, you can actually line him up on the inside and outside, be able to move around a little bit. But I think they'll have him well neutralized. It's going to come down to James Cook in the running game and also adding Josh Allen to the mix, running the football as well. And I just think that he's probably going to hurt him on a couple of plays to sustain drives. It's going to be a low-scoring game to me because I think these two teams match up really well. It's going to come down to who can make the play. And I'm sorry, Clay, I'm not picking Andy Dalton over no Josh Allen. So I got to go.
Oh, that was good. That was good. James, let's go up to you. Who are you taking in this one?
Dude, I was ready to take the Panthers, but I think TJ just convinced me with the whole I'm not ready to take Andy Dalton over Josh Allen. That's kind of a bar. You know what? I'm still going to go with the Panthers. Why not? I'll go with the upset. I'll go with the upset. I think that they'll surprise some people. Why not? And I'll go with the upset, man. I think if they get Rico Dowell going, get that defense in going in gear like they usually do, I think Carolina can come out with a win. So you know what, TJ almost had me, man. But let me go ahead and get Carolina in this one.
All right, so half the panel is going to take the Panthers, and half the panel is going to take the Buffalo Bills. Who's going to be right? We'll break all that down next week. Fellas, final game to get into here. We got the Atlanta Falcons against the one winning team in the Miami Dolphins, who are just imploding more and more every single week. Bro, talk to me.
Yeah, we talk about the inconsistency with the Falcons. This is it's going to show you exactly that, because they have yet to lose back-to-back games this year, because it seems like they come off an ugly loss or an embarrassing one, and then they just figure it out, and then they bounce back. The Miami Dolphins, they have so many issues. I think relatively they have a good defense, so I think it'll pose a little bit of a problem for us maybe to start the game. It's all about how much Bijan can get going and really dictate the flow of the game. But, you know, Mike McDaniel, I think him and Tua's relationship's broken. Tua is just making way too many mistakes. Yes, they have Jalen Waddle. Yes, they have Devon Achane. They have some speedsters, but we've also added speed to the defense to account for, you know, teams like this. So I think it'll be closer. I'm not expecting a blowout by any means, but I do think the Falcons get back on the right side and win this football game. They do better in the Benz as well. So
taking the Atlanta Falcons to get right. TJ, you also taking the Atlanta Falcons to get right?
Man, I'm just looking for that belt that Clay had a couple of weeks ago, because that's what's about to happen to the Miami Dolphins. Look, bro talk. I understand, like you're giving respect to the Miami Dolphins, but that's a train wreck over there, man. Like it is an absolute train wreck over there. Very little respect for the head coach. Head coach up there going at Tua, turn the ball over. And they're just not a good football team. And this is a get right game for the Falcons. Like, this is a game where, I think that the crowd probably going to be swag surfing, flags in the air. This game, like, I think that the Falcons are going to dominate this football game. Like, I think this is going to be the game where some people are going to be like, okay, that's the Michael Penix we want to see. Bijan back on track. Man, Miami not doing anything, man. The only thing they're doing is getting their coach fired week after week and probably going to be looking for another quarterback. I got the Falcons winning this game.
I'm just glad they didn't fire him this past week. You know, that interim coach boost always seems to give us a problem. So one more game for Mike McDaniel.
He's not a really good owner, bro. Talk. He's not a good owner. Like I don't know what the hell going on. But
for whatever it's worth, too, they're saying that he's not in jeopardy of losing his job right now. So that just talks about the state of the Miami Dolphins, of course. James, what's going up to you?
Yeah, I'm going to give this one to the Atlanta Falcons. I certainly hope the Atlanta Falcons can win this game, because if they don't, there's a lot more questions than answers there. Look, the Dolphins are almost as bad of a dumpster fire as the Jets right now. And it's just not a great situation for them at all. I mean, they're closer to a rebuild than anything towards competitiveness. So, yeah, I think that Atlanta is going to get the win here. I think that they will win quite handily, in my opinion. So let me get the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, Clay, go ahead. Wrap us up with today's show. Who are you taking?
If Bijan Robinson does not give me 40 points in this game for fantasy, I'm going to be pissed. Because this is a Miami run defenses right now that's allowing 159.3 yards per game. So, yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. The Falcons should win this game. It might be close, like 27-20, I see it being. But for the most part, I think the Falcons will dominate.
I thought Clay said that the Dolphins were allowing 93 points per game.
No.
I was like, oh, that's not
like
good. That's not
Yeah,
good.
like worse than we thought, huh? Damn. Could you imagine? That would put TD down bad. We always talk about Richie, but nobody wants to know how TD's doing. He's
How you
not
doing,
doing
TD?
too good. He's not doing good, TJ.
If you guys want to, Colby, what was the game where you guys went out to the event and was
Buffalo and Miami.
and TD looked like he literally would rather be anywhere else on the planet?
Well, I mean, TD also kind of did that
Buffalo.
to himself. He was stomping on Buffalo's logo before they went into the game, and then
that's
threw
awful.
through the game ceiling, interception. So, you know what? TD also kind of asked for it, but that's for the AFC East Roundtable. Guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. As always, we appreciate you so much for riding with us. Make sure to leave a big like on the video on your way out. Help support us massively here at the NFC South Roundtable. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so that you get notified every single time we go live, so that you guys don't miss out on an opportunity to get in on the conversation. Subscribe to each of these guys' individual channels. Links in the description box below. But as always, my name is Colby Cochran, host here of the NFC South Roundtable, a show brought to you by Roundtable Sports. We will see you guys next week.
Roundtable Sports Network is your one-stop shop for all things NFL, with daily live shows covering all 8 divisions in the league, hosted by the best content creators on the web, all on one network. Catch the AFC East live every Monday at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. The AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. The AFC North Roundtable live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. The AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. The NFC East Roundtable live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. The NFC West Roundtable live at 9 p.m. on Tuesday nights. The NFC North Roundtable is at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays, and the NFC South Roundtable is live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST. And of course, fourth and forever, the flagship show of Roundtable Sports Network, covering all things NFL at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Roundtable Sports YouTube channel. Real coverage, real fans.